You know what I realised as soon as I started editing the last episodes?
Yeah.
I opened by asking about your tattoo, and we never actually explained what you got a tattoo of.
That's true. That's bloody amazing, Kyle. You've pointed out an obvious fact. Why was that not more apparent? So yes, in the last episode, we made a brief mention in the intro about me being a marked man. I got a tattoo, and the tattoo is of the 23rd century Starfleet Command Delta insignia. Not
He's got a Starfleet logo.
I've got a Starfleet logo tattoo. And it's not merely is the tattoo of mere science department, including medicine or engineering. I did get the starred centre for command.
That's your dream. You're not going to settle for science officer.
I don't want to be.
You're not going to be a security officer the rest of your career. You're going straight to the top.
I'm not no Michael Eddington. No one will get that.
Should we jump straight into Star Trek then?
Yeah, this episode is just to advertise Star Trek and the fact that I got a new microphone.
There is a couple other things that we could maybe touch on, but as of yesterday was Comic-Con? Was it Comic-Con?
NYCC.
NYCC. And there was some new Star Trek stuff that came out, and since we're Star Trek shills, we're going to talk about it.
Utter complete empty shills. We have no fucking loyalty. So, yes, there was news that a new Star Trek Picard trailer was going to be coming, and I guess maybe it was just because we don't really care much for Discovery. It never occurred to me. It might have occurred to you that a new trailer for Star Trek Discovery would also come out, and we were waiting. And I thought what time of the day it was going to be relative to British Superior Time. And then I knew when the Picard panel was starting, but I'd never even thought of when the Discovery panel was starting. So midway through, I was reading something on the internet or eating my dinner or something, and I know it started Discovery Season 3 trailer up, and I watched it really frantically. You know what? I was simmering on it. I was really pleasantly surprised. It was the route they're going was rather interesting. Now, you could say that any trailer can reflect a show to look good, but the concept of the last two seasons never interested me at all. The Klingon War didn't interest me. The Red Angel never interested me. This is before the seasons came out. The concept that they were selling me never really grabbed me. The concept of the Federation potentially falling apart 930 years into the future from the origin point of Discovery, I think is incredibly interesting.
I mean, here's the issue, right? Concept, interesting, sure, I'll give you that.
Execution.
It still looks like Star Trek Discovery, and it's going to have all of the same terrible writing problems as the last two seasons of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, I mean, the
trailer is clearly still framing Michael Burnham as the main character.
I know, maybe I'm colourblind, but was she wearing like a command uniform? Like she's not wearing cyan silver anymore?
She wore a bunch of different outfits. There was like that scene where she's in the shuttle, it looked like, and she just keeps it. It's like she was going through an alternate universe or something.
Yeah, she kept changing her outfits.
Kept completely changing.
Well, yeah. So, someone asked at the panel, who will be the new captain of the Discovery, and the cast openly admit they know who the new captain is, and neither Doug Jones or Sonequa Martin Green would admit if it was going to be either of them, and if it was going to be one of them, who it would be. But then the trailer came out, or the trailer had came out before the question was asked, and people watch it, and I'm really sure that she's wearing command gold on her Discovery uniform, where she would usually wear silver because she was the science officer.
Well, that could just mean she's first officer, though.
It could mean she's first officer, but Saru was first officer, so either Saru has been demoted or has been made captain. Either way, she is now first officer or captain.
Story-wise, it should be Saru who's captain.
Saru is either demoted or is captain. He can't be first officer.
He can't be demoted. He's the highest ranking officer on the ship. Who's going to demote him?
Giorgio.
Oh, she's.
Because I'm sure in the trailer she was in the Starfleet
31.
Command uniform. That's true.
I'm so sick of Evil Empress. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm so annoyed that she went into the future. At least we ditched Ash Tyler, but
yeah, at least we ditched Ash Tyler. I mean, I'm so annoyed the entire crew went into the future because they wiped out Control before going, so they didn't have to go. Idiotic, complete stupido.
I wonder if they'll bring back the 1,000 fighter craft that's on board the Discovery.
I hope no. They all launched, man. They're out fighting in the Enterprise.
Oh,
Because they never docked.
That's very true.
The shuttles that Discovery launched, they never docked again with Discovery, did they?
I don't think so.
So I
guess
those crew just got left.
Yep. And I guess they're not allowed to talk about the ship that they were serving on.
No, for 2 years.
Because it
not even
officially
2 years.
doesn't exist.
Because I always forget, season 1 ended and season 2 began immediately. So it's not even like they were serving on for 2 years, it was the equivalent of a few months.
Even though the Klingons all grew about 11 feet of hair. And
the Klingons
6
grew
hours.
all the hair, they somehow designed a new starship. People just forgot about the bomb in the centre of Kronos.
They've had a complete cultural shift to all speak English.
They're not the same people anymore within the space of one episode. Let's not talk about
Discovery's so great, guys.
Let's not talk about Discovery Season 1 or Season 2. Let's talk about Discovery Season 3.
Well, I think you've watched this trailer more than I have.
I've watched it a couple of times, but they haven't posted a YouTube link to it, or at least last time I looked they hadn't. So I had to keep watching it on Twitter and Facebook. And YouTube is just a superior player because it's a lot more responsive, so I can't properly break it down.
I mean, you did point out that there was a Morn.
There was a Morn, a Lurian, I believe his species are called. Which
we have since speculated that is in fact Morn.
Then we have since speculated in private that Lurian might in fact be the Morn that we all know and love from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Which would be great. Morn.
There was also a Cardassian, which might be a bigger deal.
There was a Cardassian in the background, and I thought his makeup was really bland though. Like it was like subtle bumps, like a Bajorn nose ridge. It wasn't like full on, ridges and stuff.
That would be a weird change for Discovery to make because they love making them look more realistic.
It looked like a Cardassian made of clay. Maybe it was just because, again, like the Twitter and YouTube player, there's Twitter and Facebook players that I had to watch the video on. I don't have a high opinion on them, so I couldn't watch them in top quality and pause them and screenshot and zoom in and blah 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 blah.
You know what? I'm okay with seeing some classic races returning. I'm so sick of Vulcans.
I'm sick of Vulcans. I'm also kind of sick of Romulans, which is that we'll talk later. But I'm happy that Morn, the species in Morn, are back, and they don't look to have been changed.
No, they look exactly the same, which is incredible.
Exactly the same, which is genuinely incredible. Though they all seem to have their forearms cut off to have laser cannons.
They have Mega Man blasters.
Yeah, they have Mega Man blasters. There's Andorians, Morn. I'm just going to assume it's Morn. Andorians, Morn, Cardassian humans, and other species off to the side, all kind of working together. I'm not assuming it's a government. They're probably some form of mercenaries. Even though you have said that Star Trek Discovery Season 3 may have an interesting concept, it still has the writing talent of the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery. I hold faith, even though I shouldn't, that this show is going to adhere to the typical Star Trek rule of sometimes it just takes 3 seasons to get good. Now, I know that statement is only loosely true because even the 2 bad seasons of Star Trek seasons historically have had some diamonds in them, whereas Discovery just doesn't.
It has some things that I like.
Some things that I like, but a full episode start to finish, and they ain't one of them. So I'm kind of hoping.
I guess I kind of like the one where Harry Mudd has a time thing.
Crystal. Yeah, that was fun.
You know the one.
Yeah, I know the one, even if the audience don't. However, I also think that it is laughable that Discovery is being a beacon of hope for these people almost a millennia later, flying through space, because they showed you some space shots.
Oh,
that
line in the trailer honestly drove me insane when Saru's like, this ship is called Discovery and it's taken us into the future. Let's make it a beacon of hope. What does that have to do with it being called Discovery? The
ship, from the point of view of people in that century, is a millennia out of date.
Yes.
There's a thing in Star Trek.
It doesn't have no hand blasters on it.
It doesn't have no hand blasters. It's not spaceship guns, spaceship hands. It's a millennia out of date, and there's a thing in Star Trek about warp factors and how warp 8 in the original series, including Discovery, isn't necessarily the same warp 8 that you would get in the Next Generation, because they just scale it differently. So I would put to you, Kyle, that this ship's max warp might only be about warp 8 at the TOS level, but warp 8 a millennia from now might mean that warp 8 is like maybe warp 1. You know?
But it has the mystical, magical mushroom drive.
It has the mushroom drive, and I think that's the only thing it's got going for it, but surely a millennia later. 1,000 years have passed since that episode, since Discovery left the 23rd century. Just by a factor of time, surely that technology would have been rediscovered by that point, and it's no big surprise that they've shown up with this technology long since forgotten about.
Nathan, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. The entire galactic civilization is going to have been destroyed, let's say, like 100 years after the end of Voyager.
Right.
And technology has not advanced at all from that point onwards.
So we're going to be stuck at a late 25th century.
They're going to get to the future and technology is going to look exactly the same.
That'll take us on to Picard. I've got thoughts. But, see, I said this to you in private. Star Trek Enterprise and a little bit of Voyager, they have delved into the 29th century and the 31st century of the Star Trek universe. Just briefly, not in any great detail, but they have delved in enough for it to be known.
Established.
For it to be established. And there is a state of the galaxy. There is time travel. There's temporal agents. There's time travel. It's like a casual thing. You can join Starfleet and be a time agent, kind of thing. And that's not word for word. And I've got a feeling that they've gone 1,000 years into the future, the 33rd century, roughly 32nd maybe. Now that is at the very earliest 100 years past as far into the future that we've ever been in Star Trek. I think in Star Trek Enterprise we go to the 31st century. So Discovery's either in the 32nd or the 33rd. Technology should be round about where we saw it in that show.
Sure.
And the technology from that time period in Voyager and Enterprise, it's quite Doctor Who.
Here's the issue with Discovery going 900 years into the future, right?
Yeah.
They've already established in Discovery that this is like super futuristic technology that they're at already.
Yes.
Even though they have bloody handheld communicators. But regardless, they've got like these holograms that can walk around.
Oh, God.
They've got, you know what I mean? Like, it's obviously... they've made an attempt to make it look super advanced.
Yes, and then you see...
So that presents a huge issue going into the future. Like, how do you get more advanced?
Yeah, you kind of turn it into, like, Star Wars, where technology's plateaued and you can't really advance much. Maybe they'll give their phasers crossguards. It's...
This wasn't a problem.
That is a...
Just pointing out in the original run of Star Trek, because the technology of that universe sort of advanced with our universe. So you go into Next Gen and everything looked nicer and more modern because it was made 20 years in the future.
Yes, and it was a sequel to the show.
Right. So this wasn't a problem.
Yeah, if they had made Discovery set in the time period that the Picard is set in, that would be fine, because we don't know what technology is supposed to look like at that point in time. You could make it look like Discovery and we wouldn't bat an eyelid. But now, to transition into Picard, the Star Trek Picard stuff looks very similar to Discovery, because Discovery looks cutting edge to our own standards in 2019. Like, what have they got in Picard? Holograms that follow your hands and wrap around your hands like Tony Stark tech from the Avengers movies.
That's so much more advanced than 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's like, now the holograms map to our arms. We can have holographic armor. It's very Mass Effect. It looks like
the Omniblade.
The guy on the bridge. Yeah, the Omniblade looks like an Omni tool. That's what the guy looks like he's got when he's on the bridge of the ship in the Picard trailer.
Do we have more to say about Discovery?
I will say I thought to wrap up, I did think the trailer had an interesting concept, but I hope that my faith isn't misplaced in its ability to tell a good story, because I think that the whole thing, they showed the flag in the trailer, and the flag, it was like the Federation flag, but it was missing a bunch of stars. So I thought that was interesting. It wasn't just they showed up and the Federation just doesn't exist. It's gone. It is clearly, even though it's in decline, it's not in decline at such a rate that they don't think that they're unable to actually make a new flag. They're still updating the flag, which I think's nice.
Would you I never realised that the stars on the Federation flag actually referred to people in the Federation. Was that established already?
I had always assumed that was just a thing, and I know they're different sizes, but at the same time, I kind of attributed that to be, the founders of the Federation get bigger stars. I will say, though, I do not believe that was probably what was intended, because it does just look like a flag of the current United Nations that we have today, except minus the stars. So I do think this is them kind of adapting something, maybe expanding on it to give it meaning, which I'm fine with, Not everything was explained, and this is them just explaining something. And, what stars represent what systems, it might be fairly arbitrary. There's some big stars left. Maybe Earth have left the Federation, ooh. But I know that in the 31st century that we met from Enterprise, the Federation very much still exists. So it has been in a sharp 100-year decline. So the British Empire...
Or they're just going to completely ignore it. What are you talking about?
God, I hope they don't, man. I hope they don't. I really hope they don't.
You're hoping for a lot. You really are.
Hoping that they adhere to canon?
Have you watched Discovery? You want to talk about adhering to canon?
What's it about? What's the show about? I haven't seen it.
Picard.
Star Trek Picard Trailer 2.
Here's the thing. I was really hoping that this trailer would clear up a lot of my concerns about this show. And instead it amplified all of them.
It answered one of my questions.
Oh?
It answered the question of what uniform they were going to be wearing.
Classic.
I thought they might have. I honestly thought maybe they would have wore the movie uniforms, but I should have guessed that.
No, they're going for cheap nostalgia, so they use the most iconic uniforms.
You know what, Kyle? No, I openly admit I think The Next Generation is a much better show than the original series, right? But I think the fact that they openly admit how much of a bigger fan they are of The Next Generation, so due to the fact that they are fans of that show, they want to do an authentic follow-up. They didn't change the uniforms. Like, it's literally the Next Generation uniforms that Data and Picard are wearing in the trailer, right? It really is. It's the same uniform. However, in Discovery to go back there. They redesign everything because they think it looks shit. But the people who were fans of that show probably thought... Actually, I don't probably think. I know they think it looks good because they speak about it all the time. That's why people were annoyed. But because Alex Kurtzman is probably not a fan of TOS, I hate to say it, he would never admit it. But he's a fan of the Next Generation. He doesn't want to fuck with it. How would he feel if someone who wasn't a fan of the Next Generation came along and decided to reinvent that? It's the height of hypocrisy that he's willing to rearrange one part of the timeline but is willing to be completely faithful to the other because he was more of a fan of it.
Here's the other thing too. When you're actually bringing back original actors, it's a lot harder to like say it's reimagining because it's like it's actually Patrick Stewart. You're not going to put him in a redesigned TNG uniform.
They could have just not shown it.
They could have just not shown him, but like, I mean, even in this trailer, I still don't think that the TNG uniforms look bad. So,
I think they look great.
They look good. So, I'm happy that they didn't mess with the uniforms.
Picard looks really, really old in it, though.
So does Data. But I'm happy that they didn't change the uniform. I do think that if they were going to be a bit more accurate about it, it probably would have made more sense to have them in the movie uniforms. But whatever. It's Picard thinking a happier time in his life, so whatever, I can...
Yeah, because the movies are quite grim, so he doesn't want to remember his family dying in a fire, you know.
Off-screen.
Off-screen. Though, in that film, he was wearing that uniform. Maybe he is thinking his family dying in a fire. Maybe he is. He's on the vineyard.
There's some sort of symbolic meaning behind that painting, which I didn't gather.
Yeah, do you want to finish the painting? I don't know how. I don't really know what they're going... Is Data just going to kind of be like a hallucination? Not even a hologram? Like, that's a shame. I was actually about to ask what combat badge are they using, but it'll be the one that you see Picard wearing. Because then when you see him in the uniform, I don't think you actually see the combat badges on the uniform, do you?
I think you do. I didn't get a close look. I assume it is the updated one for Generations.
Yeah, I like that combat.
Here's the problem, though. Than the rounded one. That ruins the idea that he's thinking back to TNG, and you're right, he is thinking about his family being murdered, because he never wore those comm badges during TNG.
He never did. DS9 got them, but they got those comm badges when Generations came out during Star Trek DS9 Season 3. For 7 seasons of TNG, he never actually wore that. No,
he had the old round one.
He had the old round one. He's thinking of his family dying in a fire. That's why he's on the vineyard.
Oh.
They're following it up, Kyle. What's canon? Well, I suppose there was a brief time period between the end of All Good Things and Generations, maybe a few months.
Where he finally joined the card games.
No, where he finally joined the card games, and we all smile, and I love it. But there's a little couple of there's a period in there where he might have got the new comm badge.
I suppose you're right, and that would be a happy time, because presumably since we didn't see it, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. It was just an okay time. If anything of note happened, they would have brought out the cameras.
Right, so I haven't actually explained what my main concerns about this show are. One of them...
What are your main concerns?
One of them, as you may have gleaned, is that it's going to rely way too heavily on cheap nostalgia. And the second one is it's going to be a dumb action show like Discovery.
Do you think it's going to rely heavily on nostalgia, or do you think the marketing is heavily relying on nostalgia?
I think it's going to rely a lot on nostalgia, even though Patrick Stewart would say, I want it to be completely new and all that. I think that money outranks Patrick Stewart, and they're going to shove in as much references as possible.
But do you think Riker and Troy will join him on his excellent adventure?
No, that's just a one-episode cameo at max.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, it's all over the trailers, and Data's all over the trailers. I don't really think they're going to be in the show that much. There was a rumour about maybe Worf showing up, but I think after what they've done in Discovery, I don't think we're ever seeing Worf again, because they don't want to show a redesigned Worf, and they don't want to show an authentic Worf either, because if they show an authentic Worf, then they need to explain what the hell happened in Discovery.
It would be so funny though if it was just a normal Worf while at the same time running Discovery with the redesigned Klingons.
It is a long story and we do not talk about it.
Yeah, just like Trouble with Tribbles or whatever. It's
Trouble with Tribulations, yeah.
Yeah. We do not talk about that time.
We don't talk about it.
So the Klingons went from normal Klingons to Discovery Klingons, then to TOS Klingons, then back to regular Klingons again.
It's exactly what happened. I don't know what the hell happened with the Discovery Klingons. That was like a weird 6-month party they went on and got really drunk.
Wouldn't it be great if we all shaved our hair?
And decided to put massive body modifications onto our faces.
We changed our faces to have big monster faces.
And then just took it away again the next time we see Starfleet, just to fuck
We
with
took
them.
all of them off to just look like brown painted humans for a while.
God, Jesus Christ. But yeah, so I kind of sadly think that we won't ever see Michael Dorn again. I hope we do, because his name was on a clapper. You know the clapper board where they say "and action"? His name was on a clapperboard and people thought that meant he was on set, but then they said it might just been a crew member and it was a coincidence. Or he was on set.
It's a pretty big coincidence.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not unheard of. So I hope Michael Dorn... What if they get Michael Dorn to be there, but just to... like he's playing someone else? He's like a human. He's a Starfleet commander and he's just not playing Worf.
That would be silly.
Well, but that's how they get round it. It's how they allow him to be on the show, but they just do not address it.
Obviously, the other major returning character is Seven of Nine.
Seven of Nine, who was also in this
a couple
trailer.
Times, which makes me think she'll probably have a bigger part in the show than the rest of them.
Yeah, I think there's going to be like a season-long A plot and a season-long B plot.
You think 709 says the B plot?
She'll have the full season B plot, and I think the A and the B plot, they'll be together at the start of the show. They get separated, and Picard does his thing, the Seven does her thing, and then they get reunited for the end of the the season final or something. I think that's what they might do. I actually don't think that Patrick and Jerry, Ryan are going to be working together that much. And Hugh, we saw Hugh finally as a full human briefly in the trailer.
I missed that.
He looks... Yeah, there was a full body image of him and Patrick Stewart walking beside one another, or Patrick Stewart was following him down a corridor. And he's been all de-Borgified. He looks human, but he's like 7 of 9, we still got Borg pieces on him. And there was a bit in the trailer where 7 of 9 is like crying, cuddling someone who's presumably dead. There have been theories as to who that is.
I'm sure one of the theories is Chakotay, right?
Yes. How did you haven't seen this? You haven't
I
seen
know
Voyager.
who Chakotay is.
How do you know who Chakotay is?
I have seen parts of Voyager, enough to know that there's a character called Chakotay.
Alright, okay, why would you say it's Chakotay?
They have, like, romance, right?
They have a romance right at the end of the fucking show for, like, the last 2 episodes, and it was never built up. And it just appeared. It's like when
Deanna
and
Worf.
briefly date... Deanna and Worf, it's exactly like Deanna and Worf, I promise you, it's mental. And people thought, well, what if they actually followed that relationship up? But that guy that looked dead, they were hugging, that ain't Robert Beltran. I think that's the name of the actor who plays Chakotay in Voyager. Because he's still alive and he goes to Star Trek conventions and stuff. And I guess it could be a flashback and they just used a body double because Robert Beltran does not look like that anymore. His hair's all silver and stuff now. And he was in the Voyager
It's probably
uniform,
just a
it
false...
wasn't
It's
red.
probably just a red herring. It's probably just some random person that she wasn't able to save in time.
Yeah, so I'm just assuming it's some person that's been assimilated by the Borg, and Seven has just murdered them to put them out of their misery.
There's that shot
And
of
she's like,
7 of 9 dual-wielding blasters. Like it's a friggin'
I thought-
John Wick movie.
I laughed because phaser rifles are supposed to be quite heavy, and she's holding
They
them
look
like big
like
plastic Duplo
props.
toys.
They look like toy guns.
I think they look like guns from Star Trek, though I think they look feasibly in that universe. They look like Jem'Hadar rifles.
Oh boy, that would be a thing, wouldn't it? Bring in Dominion. People know what that is.
Bringing the Dominion, yeah. There's already enough villains in the show anyway. They haven't shown us any Klingons, but there's Cardassians in them, you know.
Well, that's the question is, because are they going to show Klingons? Would they dare show a Klingon?
Would they dare show a Klingon? See, that's the big question for Trek right now. Are they going to show a Klingon?
I honestly, I hope they do, and they show a normal Klingon, because it would be so funny.
Oh my! I just got a bunch of audio pop-ups there. I thought like the stream dipped for a minute there, the Skype call.
So you didn't hear what I said?
Right, I think it's fine. No, say it again.
I said, I hope that they do show a Klingon, just a regular Klingon, because it will be so funny to just do that. To just completely screw over Discovery like that.
If Alex Kurtzman's still like the overseer, you know, like he would have something to say, even if Michael Chabon, the actual showrunner of the show, didn't have any problem with it.
Here's the thing. I think Alex Kurtzman still likes money. And they're clearly going for the nostalgia market right now, because how old are like TNG fans at this point? Like 50, 40?
If they watched it on its if people who watched TNG on its original run, probably in their 30s or 40s.
Yeah, so they're like prime audience watching it after work. That's the market.
Prime ability
That's the market they're clearly going for with this show.
Well, Kyle, I'd like to take a moment. Despite how much of adherence to canon this show is apparently paying with Cardassians and Morns, oh my.
Well, that was Discovery.
That was Discovery. Sorry, what shit am I talking about? Sorry. Because Discovery's adhering to canon, I'm just assuming it's Picard. In the Picard trailer, we saw a Galaxy class hologram.
And it looked like a regular Galaxy class.
It looked like the Galaxy class everyone knows and loves. And I know it was a hologram, so maybe if they actually had one in the show, it would all be textured horribly and we would all gasp. You know, but assuming they didn't do that and it was faithful, because the actual skeleton of that hologram, it looked faithful. And the windows and the placement of where the bridge is and the sauce. It looked gorgeous. You saw the deltas in the nacelles at the top. You saw the red Bassard collectors. Looked glorious. Absolutely amazing. And I hope we see a Galaxy class in the show. That might be asking too much though. And then we see something that is incredibly accurate, but to the wrong period of time, Kyle.
Go on then. Do your nerd thing.
Oh, right, okay. So, there is a Romulan cruiser in the show, which is fine, that's great, and it's very accurate to canon, another thing that we all like. However, there's one problem with this Romulan battlecruiser that's accurate to canon. It should be in Star Trek Discovery.
Well, here's the issue, though. They haven't met Romulans yet by Discovery's timeline, right?
Yeah, we haven't, but it's very accurate to the 23rd century. It is an old Romulan design from early TOS before the point that they decide to steal Klingon designs. The real reason for that, by the way, is they lost the Romulan ship model.
Really? That's hilarious.
Yeah, so they couldn't find the Romulan ship model and they had to paint a Romulan bird design onto a Klingon cruiser. That was the real reason that it happened. And now it's spurred off canon,
What's weird about this is the Warbird is arguably way more iconic.
It is, but again, I think Alex Kurtzman's a conflicted man. I know he's probably a big TNG fan over TOS, but for some reason he might like the Romulan TOS Bird of Prey. Even though the Derdax Warbird from TNG, DS9, and Voyager... No, it's not in Voyager, is it? No, it's not. Sorry, I forgot who was in Voyager. But it's in 2 seasons of Star Trek, quite prominently, especially in TNG, in later DS9.
So many shots of the Enterprise facing down Warbirds.
Yeah, okay. That's what you want to have people watch this show and love it. Just have a Galaxy class that's faithful versus a Dare Dax Romulan Warbird, and people will lose their shit. But no, you have this ship that we don't know, but because we don't know it, it's not breaking canon. Called the Sant Mona or something. I can't remember. They gave the name of the ship, and it was a Spanish name.
That's interesting.
Name. Yes, they gave the name of the ship. I can't remember it, but it was Sant something or Sant something. And then it's buzzing around this 23rd century Romulan battlecruiser, which is fine because it's not like this is a prequel and that ship doesn't exist yet because the design hasn't been made. This ship could have been sitting in mothballs for over a century and someone stole it and brought it out.
It's a little bit 150 years out of date, that's all.
Yeah. It's still more competitive than Discovery will be in the 32nd century. But so it could just have been sitting in mothballs. It's not like the ability for this ship to exist is impossible. It can very completely exist and be faithful. Or the Romulans have just decided to adopt an old style design again because they're fashionistas.
Well known for their big blocky fashion, those Romulans. I really hope
the big shoulders.
It hasn't been shown in any of the trailers yet. All the Romulans, just they're dressing like normal people. I really hope they show a TNG style Romulan military uniform with those big goofy square shoulders.
See, I quite like that Romulan uniform just because I grew up with DS9 and stuff, and that was my first encounter with Romulans before I saw the 23rd century variant. And in all honesty, Kyle, you know who could show up in this show? Denise Crosby's Romulan character.
She never died, so...
She never died. She could totally be in this show. She could show up and everybody would go crazy because it's Denise Crosby. And she could be wearing the big TNG Romulan uniform with the big shoulders.
I mean, yeah. I wouldn't put it past them.
I would clap, Kyle. I would clap. They can go visit Deep Space Nine.
They could just throw every reference at the wall.
So, continue.
I would be like every single episode. It's gonna be like, hey, do you remember Beverly Crusher? Hey, do you remember Geordie LaForge? Hey, do you remember Siskel?
Someone asked Alex Kurtzman if in Discovery season 3, or maybe not season 3, maybe too late, but in season 4 or something, there's a way that the show could recognise Captain Nog into canon. Because right now it's been a thing from, alternative timelines and stuff, but it was never in the show, obviously. And then he said he was very much aware of the fan petition, and he's looking into a way to see if there's a way they can acknowledge him in canon. Because they're not going to force it in, apparently, which is the shocker. Thought, Alex Kurtzman just loved to force it in.
Well, he was probably like, who's Nog? Who is that? Who's this people fans keep talking about?
No. Yeah, who's this small that everyone's really sad about? So, yeah, but he says he's aware of it, and if there's a way to do it, they will. And even though he wouldn't be able to show up in Picard, he could definitely have a reference in Discovery.
I remember there quite vividly.
There's the.
They could just say Captain Nog off on the USS Shalom the Globe at some point.
I mean, this is 20 years. This is when the Dominion War ended in the late 2370s. This is the 2390s. He could be captain, I suppose.
Yeah, probably.
He could be captain, but people would have wanted him rather to show up, because the expectation is the character's still alive.
Can't really do that though, can you?
They can't. That is true. I would love to get Odo in the show.
They could get whoever they want. All they have to do is wave some money in their face. I actually, given the direction they took with Riker in this trailer, which doesn't, it feels wrong for Riker, but that's just me.
We haven't really spoke we haven't really spoke much about Riker and
Riker
Troy.
and Troy show up in the trailer, in case you didn't notice.
Yeah, Riker and Troy show up in the trailer, and Riker came across as like a mad old man.
He looks older than Patrick Stewart. It's crazy.
He does, but it's weird because he doesn't look
in
like
real
that.
life.
In real life, they've actually had to make him look like that because he isn't all white hair, and he directed some episodes of Picard, and he still is directing episodes of Discovery, so he's a working director. I don't think he acts much anymore, and he looks like a crazy old man. And if Diana wasn't in the show and he didn't have a daughter, and all you saw
he'd look like a homeless person.
House, he would look like a mad homeless person. And the fact that he's got a wife and he's got a daughter and he's very capable is just absolute madness.
It's such a weird direction. I never took Riker as a family man, but maybe that changes in the movies.
I suppose the cat's out of the bag. They do get married in Star Trek Nemesis. Oh, do you? Oh. Well, yeah, so they do get married, and then that's when he leaves to be the captain of the Titan, and they leave. But him having children and stuff, I always thought, no, he's dedicated
Starfleet.
to Starfleet.
His retirement is an Admiralty board. Yeah,
he's going to be captain of the Galaxy class with the third nacelle and the phaser lancer. That was the plan.
That's Riker's character.
That's Riker's character.
Ever since the first episode of TNG, well established that he puts his career above all else.
Yes, but no, he's retired, he's married. You know what? I'm wondering who's going to be the better actor here. Jonathan Frakes or Marina Sirtis. Because I happen to be of the, at least, perception that neither of them do much acting anymore. Jonathan Frakes has spoke about that at length, about how he was actually really worried about doing it again, but then he pulled himself together and got through it. Marina Sirtis hasn't spoken much about it, except just to confirm that she's in the show. And I wonder if she's, like, still got her acting chops together, and she can actually give, like, a good performance, because to me, I don't know, maybe it's just because the clips were so short of him speaking, but it felt like I was just watching Jonathan Frakes speaking to Patrick Stewart.
On the romantic bench on the lake.
On the romantic bench on the lake with their hand. I thought he would have been quite reserved.
See when he says hello, Will? For some reason that felt weird to me. It's like, wow, they're very casual now.
So, you know, Picard is like that a wee bit in the films with Will. With, you know, hello, Will. Mm-hmm. But Riker was never casual. Picard, he never was. Even at the last point that you see them both in Nemesis, it's a heartfelt moment, but it's still very much, even though they're both now captains, he still treats him like he's his captain.
Yeah, you know what it was? It was seeing Riker he called him Jean-Luc, I think. And yeah, I think the only time that ever happens in the show is when he's being influenced by Q.
Yeah, or when he's speaking about him in his absence. He'd say Jean-Luc Picard, he'd say the full
He would always say Captain or Captain Picard. Or Sir.
Yeah. Or Sir. So, maybe their relationship's progressed and we'll learn.
They're like old retired men now, I guess, is what they're going for, but...
Yeah, but I don't know why Riker retired. He can still be an admiral.
It's crazy to me.
Right
yeah,
now.
I mean, fair enough that Troy would retire, sure. I mean, she doesn't look that old, but...
She doesn't. She could still be a working counselor. Honestly, she doesn't look like she's aged much from...
She looks a bit chubbier, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. Childbirth will do that to you, I suppose. But Riker, he looks like he's been hit by a time bus.
On purpose, though. This is clearly a direction that they influenced.
Yeah, but what happened? Maybe that's why he retired.
Because he went insane. He went nuts.
He cracked. He started. What was the name of the captain that O'Brien used to serve under? Went crazy.
I can't remember. I know the episode you mean.
Carda. Yeah, that's what Riker did. He went crazy and he started trying to hunt down Romulans. Maybe that's why Picard went and saw him and he's like, I'm gonna go help the Romulans. Please do not chase after me and kill all the Romulans.
Oh, God.
And then, like, you know, Deanna's going to have to use her Betazoid mind powers to stop him.
I don't even, like, I don't know how to feel about this, because that's on the opposite end of having the original TNG uniforms. Having Riker look like a crazy old man in a retirement home, that's not nostalgic. Nostalgic would have been him as an admiral serving on the big ship. That would have been the nostalgia route to take.
Yes. And I remember when they showed the first trailer and Patrick Stewart said he never wanted to be in a uniform again. But
for sure, this trailer is in a uniform.
For sure, no, but he also clarified in that same interview that he ironically found himself actually being the one trying to push to be in a uniform, because he said they were going to be doing a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
And I was under the impression that it was going to be with Jonathan Frakes, or maybe he said Jonathan Frakes was directing it or something, I can't remember. But then we see a dream sequence of them with Data in their uniforms, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if there's going to be multiple sorts of things. I don't mean with Data, but I mean multiple flashbacks or dream sequences with Data, but flashbacks in the show to them being on the Enterprise. Like a flashback to a poker game.
I think most likely we will see flashbacks, but it'll be to whatever that battle was that they showed for a few seconds.
Yeah, I couldn't. That battle that I saw with the red lasers firing from ships, I was looking at it on the bad players that I've already spoken ad nauseam about, but I couldn't tell if they were like TNG Romulan warbirds or not, because they were just strange angles. I know that's not the lasers they shoot, but I couldn't tell, because they weren't the 23rd century Romulan ship that we saw later in the trailer.
Like, I'm still assuming that they're going to play into the Romulans was destroyed by the movies, right?
Yeah,
but they haven't really indicated that at all in the trailers by now. And I thought they would have leaned more into that in this trailer.
See, this is the thing about these trailers. When you say that it hasn't helped your issues, it's just amplified them. My reservation comes from, I still don't really know what the hell the show's about. The trailers are showing, honestly, not, which in the one case is a good thing. But I know abstractly, they're the Borg, they're new people who we don't care about, and Picard is hallucinating about Data, and he's going to see his old friend Crazy Riker living in Captain Kirk's
he's
house.
Clearly protecting a small girl who is the special one who can save the universe.
Okay, but outside of that, the Borg are involved and the Romulans are there, and given the time period it's set in, it's got to be about the Hobus supernova that destroyed Romulus.
I have no idea. No. I have no idea, but I'm not hopeful, is what I'll say. The whole, like, there's this girl and she's got the secrets to save the universe thing is so hackneyed.
I see. I wonder if that's a bit overblown. I don't mean the concept. I know the concept's overblown, but I mean if that's actually what the show is. Like, she doesn't know what she is. You know, she's like the destroyer and she's dangerous. That could just be relative to the Borg. You know.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because Alex Kurtzman. She's the Blue Angel, Nathan. She's the Blue Angel.
She's a prophet.
She's a prophet.
She's a wormhole alien, Kyle. You know who's going to come in and save the day? Captain Sisko.
I mean, sure. It would be nice to see Sisko again. Why not?
Avery Brooks has become like a crazy jazz musician, so...
That was supposed to be Riker's thing. Maybe Riker went crazy because Sisko stole his thing.
Sisko stole his thing? So I actually... Listener, Kel hasn't finished Deep Space Nine, so I'm trying to hold my tongue. But there's a lot coming in Deep Space Nine which will heavily influence the state of the galaxy by the time of Star Trek Picard. There's every possibility they just won't address it because it's not relevant to the story they're trying to tell. But it would be nice to know the state of the galaxy by the end of Season 7, because Voyager doesn't really go into it in the Delta Quadrant. The movies do address it, See, that's the thing, Kyle. The movies do somewhat address Deep Space Nine way more than the MCU movies reference the TV shows anyway. And I kind of think that an update on the state of the galaxy after the
that's
Dominion
what
War
fans
would be
want.
really, really nice.
So,
well, if they're banking off nostalgia, and DS9's getting like a big push recently because that new documentary just came out and Aaron Eisenberg passed away. You know, in the next 5 years it's going to be all about Voyager, you know, and then
it'll finally be Enterprise's turn.
Enterprise will finally get the love it deserves, but by that point the TOS kick will have hopefully died out, so they won't even get a chance to cameo in any shows because it'll be set in the future.
They keep learning the wrong lesson.
They keep learning the wrong lesson, and the lessons they do learn that are useful, they learn it too late.
Because as I've continued to stress, I've said it like 5 times in this podcast now, they should just make a new show set after the events of Nemesis. You should just do that with a new cast.
It's kind of what Picard is. Oh, but with a new cast, yeah.
A new ship going around having adventures.
A new Starfleet ship. Yeah. Going around in the Alpha Quadrant.
No, it doesn't have to be limited to the Alpha Quadrant. Just exploring and having adventures.
What I'm saying is it shouldn't be another... What I'm saying is it shouldn't be another Star Trek Voyager where they're not connected to thing you know.
No.
Because that was at least something about Voyager, as it was nothing you saw was thing you know.
Yeah, well, other than all the things that you know. But
yes.
I say that. I haven't watched Voyager yet, but I know that there must be some references, because like there's...
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I'm sure.
Bad CGI and all.
CGI's great, man. Honestly, the stuff they do with the Borg in that show is literally movie quality. Not First Contact quality, but it's movie quality.
I don't know, the CGI effects for Odo are pretty realistic.
There's no shapeshifters in Voyager.
Well, spoiler. What if a changeling showed up? Wouldn't that be interesting?
What if Picard is a changeling?
This is like the whole thing of Picard. They could do so much, but they won't. This is the sad tragedy.
Yeah. I just thought of something, but I can't tell you because of DS9. Oh,
great.
Spicy.
Okay. That was a great segment of the podcast there.
That's where you stop. That's where you cut it.
Was there something else in the trailer I wanted to talk about? There was, right. This is like a nitpick I had.
Right.
And I mentioned this to you before.
Yeah.
When Picard is going to Starfleet to presumably report that, like, this girl needs help or whatever.
And they're like, this isn't your house anymore.
There's that scene, but there's also where he's at the front desk. He's like, I'd like an appointment. That's Picard.
Reception.
Picard. And it's like, first off, the idea that Starfleet wouldn't know who Picard is insane. That's nonsense. It's only been at max, like, 3 or 4 years since he retired.
There should be a big portrait of him in the front room.
He's like the biggest hero Starfleet has.
And he's an admiral.
And he was an admiral. Yeah, it's like, come on, you don't know who Picard. And then just the icing on the cake. The receptionist talks to him like he knows who he is. So why was he spelling his name out?
It was so bouncy, family friendly. So the guy behind the reception desk didn't seem, at least to me, to be acting like a Starfleet professional. He was acting like a coffee barista.
Good to see you back on your feet.
Coming from 2019, kind of everyone in LA is trying to be an actor vibe. Mm-hmm. I totally would understand where that actor decided that was a good thing to do. But it didn't come across like a Starfleet officer. It came across as like someone in a shop telling you where the changing rooms were.
Also, this isn't a problem really with the story because it makes sense. But like, you think Starfleet would have learned by now to listen to Picard?
Starfleet never listened. That's where you get your drama and conflict from. I will say in favour for just going back to that scene briefly. Even if that officer. I can't even tell if it's an officer or cadet uniform. I'm assuming it's an officer
I think it's an
uniform.
officer uniform.
Even if that dude knew who Picard was in the abstract, I know who Admiral Picard was. That doesn't necessarily mean you know the face of the character.
Okay, but Picard isn't a hard name to spell. It's spelled how it sounds.
Oh, I suppose it was cut weird, so we don't know if there was any intersecting dialogue. Oh, how do you spell it?
It's spelled Picard.
Yeah, it's Picard. I can spell Picard. Can you spell Picard? Turns into an episode of Dora the Explorer.
P-I-C.
I also thought Picard, he sounded really confused when he was saying that. Patrick, I don't know if it was Patrick Stewart's performance or not, or if it was deliberate, but he sounded like he was being quizzed on how to spell his own name. Like, do you know how to spell it, or are you just a madman?
Hey, at least we saw San Francisco.
It looked just how like it looked in Discovery.
Did we see it in Discovery?
I'm sure we have, or maybe I'm thinking of the first Picard trailer, but I'm sure we saw it. I know we saw Paris in Discovery. I'm sure.
I don't remember seeing it in Discovery.
What am I thinking
I have
of?
no idea.
I'm not thinking of.
Are you thinking of Star Trek Online?
No. You know how the Golden Gate Bridge looks like it's got a bunch of solar panels over it now? I swear to God, maybe.
Are you thinking of of the motion picture?
No, yeah, totally. No, I swear I've seen that. Was it the first Picard trailer? I don't think that's how it is, because we see the Golden Gate Bridge in Voyager and Deep Space Nine and such. And I can't remember having solar panels over it in that.
I think it does in those shows as well, that it has all the solar panels on it.
Maybe I'm just thinking of that. I thought I was thinking of Discovery, in which case I was like, have they just not changed it in the hundreds of years?
Of course not, Nathan.
It just stayed the same.
Of course not. Maybe you're thinking of the J.J. Abrams movie, where everything looks ridiculously huge.
Everything looks stupid big. So, to be fair, so does everything in this show, except the Galaxy class. The Galaxy class looked quite proportional. I know it was a hologram, right? But the windows, like, this is why sometimes I think that ship designs do inform scale. Because a lot of the time ships' sizes are scaled to the windows, because you say, well, here's the decks, here's the windows, there's the size of a human being looking through the window. Now we can scale the ship. And a ship, when it comes to the JJ movies where there aren't a lot of windows on the ships, and Discovery, where there aren't a lot of windows on the ships, you could just make it however big you like. I know that in DS9 there's some scaling problems in Defiant
Oh
versus
boy,
the Space
is there
Station.
some scaling problems in DS9?
Yes, and it's very inconsistent. But nothing was comically big. In this Picard show, I hope that because they're using older ship designs before the JJ era began, they will have to scale ships proportionately because the model would dictate it, because there's a certain amount of windows and stuff, and if you make it so big it'll just look comical.
I mean, but will they go the route of the JJ films where bigger or equals better?
We're talking about this show might be marketing, or the show entirely might be crutching on nostalgia. I hope they have enough respect for the Galaxy class to not fuck it over.
You mean like Generations?
When I was younger, I never really minded the Enterprise D being blowing up, because I think I watched Generations before I'd seen all 7 seasons of TNG, because I was a DS9 kid. So I don't know. I don't have the stick up my ass about the destruction of the D, though I do think that it was done poorly. Well, the crashing sequence is amazing, but the justification for its destruction, being shot a couple of times.
Do you think we'll get an explanation to whatever? I don't know if it happened. Does it happen in Nemesis? Does the Enterprise FE get blown up in Nemesis?
Nope. Enterprise E gets the shit kicked out of it, and it goes into dry dock for refitting. And the movie ends with the ship in dry dock.
Do you think we'll get an explanation of whatever happened to that ship then?
You know what? I hope so, because the ship was definitely under repair in Nemesis at the end, and that would imply the ship was about to, when it was finished, it would go off and continue. It could theoretically still be kicking around.
Main ships don't have a lifespan that long. You know that, unless it's Voyager, I guess, which apparently survived like 20 years.
The Constitution Enterprise kicked around for a long time.
That's true. But, main ships, they always get blown up at some point.
I hope the Sovereign class comes and saves the day. And it's like, that's why he goes to Riker. He's like, I'm going to do something dangerous, and at one point I might need help, and,
They'll have, like, a scene like Star Trek 3, where they steal the Enterprise.
Yeah, and, like, Riker and Troy and Geordi and fuck it, Worf, why not? And Crusher, and they steal this Enterprise E, and they go save Picard.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. A whole little scene where the whole crew get together. Maybe that's what Seven's doing. Maybe that's her B plot. She's like, the whole show is just her trying to steal the ship.
Just like Looney Tunes, increasingly elaborate plans to steal the Enterprise E.
She's got like an Acme, is that what it's called? ACME? That like Acme devices and like, catapults she can climb into to like shoot across the hull of the ship. Makes like an Acme transporter, and she ends up like in the Admiral's HQ.
Here's what I think that they'll make some sort of reference to the launching of the Enterprise F at some point in the show.
Will it be the F from Star Trek Online, or it'll be a whole
It'll be a whole new F. None of the people making the show have ever played Star Trek Online.
That's true. very, very true. I hope it's it. I would love to see a new Enterprise, to be honest.
I would love to see a new Enterprise with a new cast on a new show.
Would you like the new show with the new crew to be on the Enterprise and not
yes,
a new ship?
I think it's been long enough that we can get a new Enterprise. I don't know what you would call it, but like the show.
It would be the equivalent of having a show about the Enterprise B, because the Enterprise B, the crew directly preceding them was the TOS crew. So you would if you made a show about the Enterprise F, it would be the same sort of thing, because we are so intimately familiar with the preceding crew of the F. Whereas if you were to do it maybe mid 25th century, and done it about the Enterprise, you could have a few
Enterprises in between to have some time travel escapades.
Yeah, do it about the Enterprise G, completely ignore the F, and then you can do like a time travel thing where the F shows up.
And then suddenly, we're in an alternate reality where we're at war with the Klingons. Oh, wait a second.
We've been here before.
People liked it before, let's just do it again.
Captain Whoopi Goldberg.
Do you think Whoopi will show up if she expressed interest?
I think I would love it, because I think Whoopi Goldberg's character of Guinan seems very... I don't want to undersell the talent certain actors have, but I don't imagine Guinan's particularly hard for Whoopi Goldberg to play. I imagine she will find that role quite easily.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's not discount that she's a great actress, so...
Yeah, Some other people were talented for a time then forgot, because, she does a bunch of other things now. So, I hope that she shows up, because I think she will probably play exactly how she played it in TNG, where everyone else has changed. Like, Riker ain't the same Riker who we knew.
Well, also, it would make sense for her to return, because her character's always been quite closely tied to Picard.
Yeah. I also think I want to talk about... This wasn't in the trailer, dear listener.
Oh, boy.
But there was a leak. Oh, yeah, here we go. Kyle thinks I'm being too optimistic.
I think you are, yes.
Yeah. There was a leak from, I think it was not photographers, I think they were VFX crew or something behind the scenes of Picard, and one of the artists posted something to his Instagram feed, and it was of just a brief video of him like recording his friend who was taking pictures of someone standing in front of a blue screen, and you never see what he's taking a picture of. It's only a 6-second video or something, length of Vine or something like that. And right on the final frame of the video, he pans the camera over to his friend who's like doing like a low looking up shot of someone, and the camera stopped, the video cuts there, but on the last cut, right at the corner of the screen, you can see a red glove kind of regally gripping onto like a golden, I don't know.
It looks like it's some sort of cane.
Like some sort of cane or something. And it's just a hand, it's literally just a hand and a glove, and the glove might have some rings on it, I can't remember. And I believe it probably because the people that are analysing this leak have said as such. I might have not thought of it myself. It's Q. It's John Delancey's Q.
Specifically dressed up as a 20th century judge. As
I thought it was 20.
Whatever.
Yeah.
The time after World War III when humans were all crazy.
Oh yeah, so it was the judge. The judge
as
unit.
Seen
Listen,
in
if you've seen the
the
next
first
generation,
episode and the last episode of TNG.
Yeah, so it's great. It's very powerful symbolism, right? Because that judge outfit started off the Next Generation and it ended the Next Generation as well.
The game never ends.
So for him, the game never. Kyle, this is why I'm excited. The trial and the game never ends, right? And then the chair floats up and he goes off into the darkness and Picard flashes back on the ship. The trial never ended and the game never ends. So for him to revisit him these years later to check in on the trial, I think is great.
As I've said before, it would make so much sense for him to be there, and it's like, oh, I'm old now to make fun of you.
Yeah, it's perfect, and you know what? You don't even. I actually think because that judge outfit, all you see of him is his face. I think you could probably, with just with makeup, you could probably make him look like he hasn't aged a day because it's just his face. The rest of his head's wrapped up. He could have chalk white hair and you would never see it.
It's true.
You just need to make up his face. I think he would probably look just as he did. Because he had slightly blue lips and stuff, so he's probably got some makeup on already. Like, as the character of Q. And you just need to layer that on top of stuff that makes him look younger. I think they could probably do it quite easily. But there's also the cheap joke of, I've aged up to make fun of you. That would be great too, of course. And it would be so good. And, you know what, Kyle? It would be a strike of genius because I haven't thought of it. And if this leak is true, I know I've seen the leak, so technically my shock wouldn't be as much. Don't reveal it in trailers. Don't reveal it in trailers. Wait until you're watching the show and have Q.
I think we've revealed enough stuff in trailers now.
It's just you wait. Usually TV shows only do about 2 trailers. We'll get a 3rd trailer for this show in like December.
And it'll open on a shot of John Delancey.
I was going to say it'll open on a shot with the Enterprise D just somehow back. It was never blown up.
They fixed it.
We fixed it. We went back to that planet and we got Kirk's body and we fixed the D.
Hey, Picard, do you want the Carlin Nescos back? We found it.
We found it just sitting there. No one cared for it. But so yeah, I would again because technically I have seen this in quotations leak. Logically I shouldn't be jaw-droppingly surprised because that thing is now implanted at the back of my head. But there's something in my head that is a compartmentalised disconnect between a leak that I could just dismiss as being fake and a confirmation. And as long as they don't confirm it to be true and we never see another substantial leak of like his face or he doesn't show up in a trailer, I will be just as happy and just as surprised if we don't know anything until he shows up.
Okay, I should explain my counter theory to this because I saw the video that Nathan shared with me about Q confirmed. My immediate thought was, oh, it's a CGI suit for green screening, for keying out.
You did say that, but I've never seen a CGI suit.
I've never seen one in red,
colour.
Which is a fair point, but it could just be because they have green in the scene or something and they need to show green. That can happen.
That can happen. But I think that's why they put blue suits on, or they do the
the background was blue, so...
Yeah, but you know how what they do with like Bruce Banner in the Avengers movies? Mark Ruffalo just wears he wears the motion capture black suit with the white.
Yeah, well, that's a bit different. if you've ever seen them do the CGI for BB-8, where there's a guy running behind BB-8 with like a green suit on.
Yeah, that's true. So, but you know what? Because the photo, the video, the guy in this red suit, he is actually holding.
Yes. Okay. He's holding like a cane thing.
A prop thing, you know, and I don't even think it's a cane. I think it's part of the chair. And Kyle, man,
how would Q work into this plot?
Because don't provoke the Borg. That's a line from Voyager. I won't give you context, but the Borg's in the show and
I guess
Q's in the show.
I guess Q is the one who introduced them to the Borg.
Yeah. Maybe he wants to offer him youth, or he brings Data back to life. Right. Also, there's another thing I want to talk about from this trailer. I think we're probably running out of steam here, but this is the last thing I want to mention, and we'll probably be ending. There's a bit in the trailer where Picard is sitting at a fireplace with someone, and the guy's asking Picard, I don't know who the guy is, if you really want to go back out there. And he's like, I really do, or something. Or I need to.
It was a lady, I think.
Was it a lady?
No, you're right. He was at a chair. He was at the chairs, and it looked like Data's house from All Good Things.
Yeah, it was like the Dean's house from Oxford. Yeah. Right, no, I'll tell you who I thought it was. I've watched the trailer. I've watched the trailer many times. A couple of times I watched it. You want to know who I thought it was? I thought it was the Traveller. The hair. Go back and watch it and look at the guy's hair, right? And then it's this very quick cut. So I didn't really get a chance to look at his face, and I happen to not believe it.
I thought it looked like a human man, so...
I thought it was because the hair looked like dyed silver.
I think it was just an old white-haired man, but that led to the question. I was like, well, it has to be someone that he's talking to, but I didn't recognise the voice, so...
God, I hope it's the Traveller with Wesley.
They bring back Will Wheaton after all these years. Fat, chubby, bearded Will Wheaton.
Why not? They brought back fat, chubby, bearded Will Riker.
At least he can finally stop being referred to as the Big Bang Theory's Will Wheaton.
The Big Bang Theory's Will Wheaton. And no one will say shut up Wesley to him. He might say shut up Picard. You know that's the thing he wants to say.
Where do you even go with Wesley's character at this point?
Yeah, in Nemesis he was back in uniform, so I think he completely abandoned his studies.
Oh, this guy's boring. This Traveller, he's boring.
I want to go back to Starfleet.
I want to go back to Starfleet.
It's like when Vash left Q.
Picard, I'm not that excited, honestly. You know what it is? I only watched all of TNG this year, so I don't really have that nostalgic feeling that you have.
That is true. For you, it hasn't been years.
It hasn't been years. It's been a few months since I last saw Picard in uniform.
Yeah, it's like catching up with Game of Thrones in between seasons, and then season 6 is about to start, but you haven't had to wait a full year for the new season.
We're done. We can't end on that. That was such a bland trail off.
That was such a bland trail off. We need to think of something. We can cut all this out.
Think of something witty.